Blood was everywhere. The air inside California's Pelican Bay State Prison was thick with the sound of metal scraping against concrete and men shouting. A group of inmates in blue jumpsuits surrounded another group near the corner of the yard. Then, without warning, one man, his head shaved clean, a spiderweb tattoo stretched across his neck, pulled out a sharpened metal shard and drove it straight into another inmate's chest. Guards shouted, alarms blared, and men dropped to the ground. But even as the siren screamed, no one dared to move until one tall, calm figure in the crowd gave a small nod. Only then did the chaos stop. That man was known as Toro, the silent leader of a powerful prison gang that controlled nearly everything behind the walls, from food trades to illegal phone smuggling, and even who lived or died. But the truth was far bigger than one violent yard fight. What no one outside knew was that Toro wasn't just leading a few inmates, he was part of a network that reached into every major prison across California. A secret web of control that even some guards feared. And what was about to happen next would expose just how deep that power ran. It all started months earlier, with a transfer no one thought twice about. The day Miguel Alvarez arrived at Pelican Bay, the sky was gray, and the sea wind bit at his face as the bus rolled through the gates. He'd been locked up before, robbery, small-time hustles, but this was different. Pelican Bay wasn't just another prison. It was the end of the line. The place where California sent the worst of the worst. From the moment Miguel stepped off the bus, he could feel the weight of the place. The guards barely looked at him, their eyes tired from years of seeing too much. The walls were high, cold, and gray. The silence was heavy, broken only by the buzz of electric gates opening and closing. In the intake area, another inmate whispered to him, "Keep your head down. Don't talk to nobody unless they talk to you first. You'll find out soon enough who really runs this place." Miguel didn't understand what that meant, not yet. His first week passed quietly. He stayed in his cell, ate what they gave him, and tried not to draw attention. But the tension was everywhere. Men spoke in codes, passed folded notes during meals, and used hand signals when guards weren't looking. It didn't take long before Miguel noticed that everything, from who sat where in the dining hall to who swept the floors, was controlled. Then one night, while cleaning the corridor, he found something strange under a trash bin, a tiny piece of paper with a single line written in Spanish, "La familia está mirando." The family is watching you. The next morning, two older inmates approached him in the yard. One had a scar running from his cheek to his ear. The other wore thick glasses and spoke softly. "You're from East LA, right?" the one with the scar asked. Miguel nodded carefully. "Then you know who we are." He didn't. But he pretended he did. The man smiled. "But Toro wants to meet you." That night, Miguel was escorted by a guard who said nothing, leading him to a dim hallway near the laundry room. Inside stood Toro, the man from the yard. His calm presence made the room feel colder. He looked at Miguel for a long moment before speaking. "You're new, but people say you're smart. We need someone like that." Miguel stayed silent. Toro continued, "This prison doesn't run because of the guards. It runs because of us." He gestured to a map drawn crudely on the wall, lines connecting Pelican Bay to other prisons across the state. "We keep order. We make sure things move. You want protection? You help the family." Miguel felt his stomach twist. He'd heard of gangs running things on the streets, but this was bigger. This was organized. Planned. Weeks passed, and Miguel found himself pulled deeper into the network. He delivered coded notes, carried small items hidden in soap, and once even relayed a message to another prison through a corrupt guard. Each favor earned him safety and fear. But then, one afternoon during yard time, something went wrong. A shipment, something secret, had disappeared. Accusations spread like wildfire. And when the lockdown sirens blared, Miguel realized he was the one being blamed. Guards stormed the cells, searching everything. Toro's men whispered that someone had talked. Miguel's heart pounded as he heard heavy boots stop right outside his door. Then came the chilling voice of the guard, "Alvarez, hands behind your back." He was dragged out as the inmates watched silently. Some shook their heads. Others avoided his eyes. Toro stood in the corner of the yard, staring at him, calm, cold, and unreadable. And just as Miguel was shoved into the holding cage, Toro gave that same small nod. The same one he gave before the bloodshed. Then everything went black. Miguel woke up to the sound of dripping water. His head throbbed, his mouth dry. The faint light from a small vent cut through the darkness, revealing cold concrete walls and a rusted drain in the middle of the floor. He wasn't in his cell anymore. He was in the hole, Pelican Bay's infamous solitary confinement unit. For hours, maybe even days, no one came. Only the echo of footsteps passed now and then. His mind spun, trying to remember what had happened. The last thing he saw was Toro's nod, that tiny signal that carried the weight of a death sentence. When the metal door finally creaked open, Miguel squinted against the sudden flood of light. A guard stepped in, his face unreadable. "You've got a visitor," he said. Miguel frowned. "A visitor? Who?" The guard didn't answer. He just cuffed Miguel's wrists and led him down a narrow hallway lined with steel doors. They stopped in front of a small interview room. Behind the glass sat a man in a gray suit, clean-cut, calm, the kind of man who didn't belong in a place like this. He introduced himself as Agent Daniel Price, from the California Department of Corrections Special Investigations Unit. "We've been watching Toro and his network for months," he said, sliding a file across the table. Inside were photos of Toro, coded letters, and a map almost identical to the one Miguel had seen drawn on the prison wall. "You're caught in the middle of something huge, but you can help us stop it." Miguel's heart pounded. "You think I'm one of them?" Price leaned forward. "I think you're smart enough not to be. But Toro? He runs a system that controls half the state's prisons. Drugs, phones, even guards, all under his thumb. You've seen how it works. We need someone on the inside." Miguel hesitated. Helping the cops meant betrayal, and betrayal inside Pelican Bay was a death wish. Still, he remembered the blood on the yard, the nod, the silence that followed. He thought of how easily Toro could erase him, just like that. "What do you need me to do?" he asked quietly. Price smiled faintly. "We just need proof." The next few weeks were a blur. Miguel was returned to general population under the excuse of good behavior. But this time, everything he did was being watched, by both the guards and the gang. He was given a small, hidden microphone disguised as a button on his jumpsuit. His job was to record conversations during mealtimes, in the laundry room, anywhere Toro's orders were passed down. Each word could bring the network down, or get him killed. One night, as he scrubbed floors near the showers, Toro appeared. His sharp eyes studied Miguel. "You've been quiet lately," Toro said softly. "That's good. Quiet men survive." Miguel forced a small smile. "Just staying out of trouble." Toro nodded, stepping closer. "There's a run happening tomorrow. You'll take it?" Miguel's stomach dropped. A run meant transporting contraband, usually drugs, sometimes phones, sometimes messages. If he refused, Toro would know. If he agreed, the guards might catch him before he could deliver the recording to Price. The next day, he slipped through the corridors with a hollowed-out soap bar in his pocket. Inside it was a tiny bundle, the kind of thing people killed for in prison. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. Guards shouted orders nearby. Inmates whispered warnings. When he reached the yard, Toro's men waited. "Give it here," one said, holding out his hand. Miguel hesitated. Then, in that moment, alarms blared again, just like before. Guards poured into the yard. Shouts echoed. Inmates dropped. The man next to him fell, hit by a rubber bullet. Someone yelled, "Lock down." Miguel froze, clutching the soap bar. But Toro didn't move. Amid the chaos, he stared straight at Miguel, and this time, there was no calm in his eyes. Only realization. "You're the rat," Toro hissed. Before Miguel could react, Toro lunged. The world turned into noise, bodies slamming, guards screaming, boots pounding. A baton cracked across Toro's arm, but he didn't stop. He reached for Miguel again, his hands closing around his neck. Miguel gasped, clawing for air. "I'm not." But Toro's grip only tightened. Then, out of nowhere, a single gunshot echoed across the yard. Toro's body went still. His eyes widened, then he collapsed beside Miguel, blood soaking into the dirt. For a long moment, everything stopped. Guards shouted. Inmates pressed to the ground. Miguel lay there, trembling, staring at the man who had ruled the prison like a king. Agent Price appeared at the gate, shouting to the officers. "We got what we needed. End it." Miguel was pulled away, coughing, tears mixing with dust. Toro was dead. The gang network that had ruled California's most dangerous prison had finally been exposed. Weeks later, the investigation made headlines. Dozens of guards and inmates were arrested. Secret tunnels, coded ledgers, and smuggled cell phones were uncovered. Pelican Bay went on total lockdown, the network shattered. But Miguel wasn't celebrating. Sitting alone in a new cell miles away, he stared at the gray wall, haunted by what he'd seen and done. Because inside California's most dangerous prison, the gang might be broken, but its whispers still traveled through the walls. And somewhere, beyond those bars, another man was already taking Toro's place. The network never truly dies.